คอนเซ็ปต์ของหมอเบอร์สเนี่ยต้องให้น้ำหนักโปรตีนและสารที่เป็นไงแต่ที่สำคัญคือผมเนี่ยชอบกินสเต็กชอบกินซีฟู้ดชอบกินน้ำด้วยกินมันจะเนี่ยด้วยชอบกินคือผักเนี่ยผมเลยผมกินเป็นกระมังนะแต่ว่าเนื้อสัตว์ผมเลยแต่ผักก็มีสองเท่านั้นเนื้อสัตว์ผักให้เนื้อสัตว์ก็เนื้อสัตว์
They both of them have come to participate in the global summit that is held in Bangkok. Because so to make it it is because all my life I have a lot of calculations. Then I don't know how to do it. One of them. New knowledge. I think it is the innovation. Another topic that I have never known before. Experience. New only units in the books of the auto system can see later on we can have a discussion.
Present of your experience.
Thank you so much. Good morning. Nice to see you all here. Do you think I need the mic or I just speak like that?
I think you use the mic though.
Really? Okay. So my name is Michael. I'm from Malaysia. 4 years ago, I was diagnosed with about 4 years plus 5 years ago. Okay, HCC cancer. HCC is hepatoma cellular carcinoma on the liver. So I was diagnosed with many nodules, but I consulted. So far, I consulted 3 oncologists. So all the oncologists tell me is to take chemo or targeted chemo drug. So I asked one of the oncologists who become my friend, how is the lifespan of a chemo patient? Maybe too long, cold. Just now it was nice. What's the lifespan of a chemo patient? Two of the oncologists doesn't want to tell me, but one of the oncologists told me that the lifespan of a chemo patient is 6 months to 22 months. That's the average. And to my horror, I cannot accept it. And it's only 6 months to 22 months. And for people to live more than 22 months, as a Google, it's only 3% for chemo. So 97% of the patient will die before 2 years. So I don't want to die this way. I don't want to die a miserable death. I don't want to go through all these things. You lost your hair, your health get affected. So I don't want to go through all these things. I will go for natural therapy. Okay, holistic approach. So I have done all things for fasting, 8 days without food, 3 days without food, diet, vegetarian, keto diet, hypothermia, some ozone, illegally, even in Malaysia, I did some ozone and magnetic hydrogen, and I also take ivermectin, so all this I done. But my tumor get bigger and bigger. So about 2 years plus ago, I was holidaying in Bangkok. But before that, I'm a Christian. I go to church. When I pray, the pastor pray for me. He said God will heal me and God will protect my liver. But okay, I feel good. You see, cancer is to a layman, cancer. I'm an engineer, okay, so I don't know anything about doctor. So to me, to a layman like me, cancer is a death sentence. So cancer is a death sentence. So to me, it is something that, how to say, very disturbing to me, and I have a lot of fear. But one day when I was in the church, God delivered me from this fear. I fear no more. Actually, from that day forward, I don't know, I no more fear death. And one day when I was praying, God spoke to me that He would heal me. 6 months later, after the prayer, that I felt that God would heal me, I felt the warmth, I felt the my test results still show otherwise. That my AFP, the cancer marker, keep increasing. So on December 2023, I was holiday in Bangkok. I always go to Chinatown for, like I told her, like Gui Zhap, I like Gui Zhap. And I go to Scala restaurant in the Shark Fin and eat the bird nest. So I always enjoy my food in Chinatown. But I met one oncologist from Southern Tibet. He was very passionate. I talked to him in the dinner. Over the dinner, he was very passionate, so I said I visited him. At that time, my AFP from 200 had increased to 4,000 something. It's here written 4,800 something. It's huge amount. Even when I consult an oncologist, he said, "Hey, Michael, if the AFP increase 1 or 2 more thousand, you may die, because the tumor will grow so big, it will constrict the blood vessel flow. So you may die." I look at him smiling, because at that stage, I don't know how to die. I know that God will save me. I don't know how to die. So he was very happy. He said there are 2 big tumor now, 3 smaller one, and the balance 12 nodules, smaller one. I have 17 here, 17, so many. So he said I can blast the 2, okay, by this microwave oven blasting. So I said, let me go back some document because it's quite maybe dangerous. So I went to some Tibet. They blasted 2 and 1 or 2 smaller one because they cannot reach many other places. So it's only to delay my buy time for me for treatment. It doesn't heal my cancer. He made it very sure to me. But before the operation, for 4,000 something, my AFP have increased to 7,000 something, 7,692. He told me if 1 or 2 more thousand, I may die. But I already increased this 1 or 2 more thousand in only 2 weeks. So in other words, I may be possibly dying in 1 or 2 months. I'm so near to death, according to the oncologist. So he blast me, submit Tibet, all the medical records here. It was very painful. 2 weeks later, I went back. But at that time, God leads me to AIC therapy. Before the ablation process, I already took AIC for 2 weeks already. AIC therapy. AIC therapy, I brought some sample here. Is here to show you all. Okay? Later on, you all can take a look. So after the ablation, the doctor told me, you must take levatine. Levatine is a targeted chemo drug for liver. I said, okay. I said, I want to buy it, but actually in my heart, I don't want to take. Because I know the side effect of levatine. It has 34 side effects. The side effect is so severe, it's targeted chemo. So I refuse to take. For lungs, it's loratadine. For liver, it's levatine. And it's very expensive because it costs 1 tablet in the morning, 1 tablet in the evening. The cost is about $100, almost $100 US, $90 US, or 1 in the morning, 1 in the evening. It's per day. And he told me you have to take it for life if it works. That's very scary. I didn't take any. I said I go back and share life. Maybe cheaper, but actually I didn't take. 1 month later, I came for the test. By that time, I took AIC therapy 1 month plus 2 weeks, or 1 week plus, really. He couldn't find anything. He couldn't find anything left. Only the 2 burnt one and 1 or 2 smaller burnt one. The rest of the nodule disappeared, everything, and he cannot believe it. Dr. Virot or something, yeah, Dr. Virot. Then he couldn't find anything. He put me in the MRI for 2.5 hours. I said, why you put me there so long? Normally the MRI will take about 45 minutes, 1 hour, right? It took me 2.5 hours. And after that, he would ask me to do the CT scan again. But he said free because I want to confirm something. So he bring me to CT scan again to test. Then I asked him, why it took you so long? I fall asleep in the MRI chamber. He said, Michael, I cannot find anything. And I keep looking for new growth. Also, I cannot find. I declare you cancer free. From the blood test, from the MRI, from the CT scan, I declare you cancer free. Only 1.5 months I took this. Plus the ablation. Ablation helped reduce my 2 big tumor. Because over 2 years fighting, it has grown quite big. So he declared me cancer free. 3 more months, you come again. 3 more months, I continue the therapy. 3 more months, I came. And that is 2024 March. You see, 2023 December, January 2024 at last. So I was healed in January 2024. And 2024 March again, I came. He again put me 2.5 hours in the MRI. Again, same process, CT scan. And he said, Michael, I cannot find any new growth. The old one has all disappeared. What you take? What have you done? Did you take levatine? I said, no, I didn't take. I'm very honest with you. I didn't take. I take AIC therapy. So, he issued me a letter. You are cancer free. And you no more my patient. That is his work. 6 months later, you came and see me. You can go back. Couldn't find anything. 6 months later, still nothing. Today, if coming December, another 6 months. So total, I have been healed of this almost 2 years now. If I reach 2026 January, it will be 2 years. Now it's end of the 2025. From 2023 to 2025, I'm healed 2 years. Got no signs of cancer, and my latest AFP marker test is only 1.2. Imagine 7,000 something, now it's 1.2. I took it in August. My liver function test is perfect. This liver function, even though my liver has been blasted, my liver function test is better than I used to be before. I cannot understand. All my liver function test, and my friend said this is the liver of a very young person, but I'm 60 over 70 now. Do I look good? And this AIC, after Jay will explain, will not only heal the cancer, it also good for your bone marrow, good for your bone density, and it also good for longevity. So to me, it also build on my health. Now I feel that I'm more healthy than before. And thanks to AIC and thanks to God. Okay? And I show you these two pictures. These two pictures, they are all cancer patients. You can see picture. This Indian guy, 49 years old, he has lung cancer stage 4A. He's a computer specialist. I pity him because when we talk to each other, we cry. His children is only 9 years old and 12 years old. And we become brother because we gone through the same process. So he took AIC for 3 months and he has 3 tumors, 1 nodules, all disappeared. The oncologists at the Subanjaya Medical in Malaysia, they all jump out because they are shocked. They prescribed him loratadine for the lung cancer. Loratadine can only suppress, targeted chemo can only suppress the tumor cancer, but it cannot heal. And now he got healed. Even the president of the Cancer Association in Malaysia wanted to interview him. This is Logis. And this guy is my manager. Center is me. He has prostate 10 cm. After I gave him AIC, because he's my staff, he don't have money to pay. So I gave him AIC therapy for 1.5 months. After that, his prostate reduced to 40%. 6 by 5 cm. Original is 10 cm. 6 by 5. 10 cm is like this size, very big, you know. Reduced to 6 by 5. And after 1.5 months, now is 1 cm. The PSA cancer marker reduced from 56.2, now it's less than 4, going back to normal. Now he's still taking for maintenance. Maintenance of this is very cheap, 1 week maybe 2 times, 3 times. So it's very cheap. Okay? And yeah, so this is my testimony on my cancer being healed. Thank you, God. And thank you, AIC, for the giving to this AIC. Thank you. Yeah, you can ask the question.
I wonder, all of you, 3 of you, and it seems 3 people. Do you change your lifestyle?
It must.
Compare before you got the cancer and after you have it. Did your lifestyle
For
change?
AIC, they require you to take cautious diet. No sugar, less carbo, and more vegetable, and like pork, you take less, or don't take expected. That I learned from Dr. Boston.
So you change the way of eating.
You
How
must.
about the other?
Sure.
Sleeping.
Or sleeping, yeah, sleeping exercise is a must because for AIC therapy, normally the first thing you take when your stomach is hungry, because AIC means anti-orbital ionic calcium. SG means step glucose or secret, to me, secret glucose. It disguises as glucose. So the cancer food is glucose. So when this cancer cell eat this glucose, it dies. Nothing can kill cancer cell. To me, cancer cell is immortal, something like a sister cell, something like a brother cell. Our T cell cannot defeat this cancer. I do a lot of reading and I know that cancer cell, like, it cannot be destroyed. It can only be suppressed. Only AIC and God can destroy the cancer cell. Because it disguises glucose. That's why we cannot take sugar. Sugar, the food for cancer is sugar. And drink alkaline water. You just have to change your lifestyle. Alcohol, I still drink little bit because alcohol, if you drink little bit, maybe it's okay.
But wine,
Because
beer, or something.
last maybe no alcohol.
With alcohol, what do you mean? Alcohol, beer,
Beer,
beer, just beer,
little bit, little bit.
not much.
And as usual, I don't smoke. I used to be
And you
smoking.
eat more vegetables? Yes.
Yeah, 70-80% vegetable. And of course, you need some protein,
Yes,
fish,
fruit.
meat.
Yes, fruit, fruit.
Fruit I take because papaya to me I like because papaya is very nutritious. But when I choose the fruits, I try not to choose the sweet one. Banana I still take, papaya I still take, other fruits I still take, but I don't take so much. More of vegetable.
And you, I mean, the way you conduct your life. Previously, I believe you are very stressed with your work. You are engineer. What type of engineer?
I'm a quality control engineer.
Oh.
And I also doing construction development property.
So obviously, you sleep not very well because of the stress and thinking. Yeah.
This one I don't sleep so much since I was young.
Your previous
Only
yeah.
6 hours.
Yeah. No, before you know that you've got the cancer, yeah, your life is completely different from now.
Yeah.
Correct?
Actually, not. My work doesn't give me stress. I only stress one time when I help my brother. When I help my brother, that's about stress a few months. But my cause of liver, according to my liver specialist, I consulted 2 liver specialists. My cause of liver cancer is due to vaccine.
Vaccine.
Vaccination.
What kind of vaccine?
You see, my hepatitis B, I have very low antibody. 50 only. 50 plus. Normally people have few hundred, 1,000 or 2,000. Huh? My wife had 2,000 something. I only 50. So my regular doctor told me,
So there will be biological hepatitis B. Have you got the hepatitis?
no.
Huh?
So
Only the vaccination.
yeah, let me explain. Finish. So my regular doctor said, hey, your hepatitis vaccine antibody is very low. It's only 50. Why don't you get a booster shot? So one package of booster shot take 3 times, right? One time, then 1 month later, then 2 weeks later, right? So the booster shot, I took one, it increased my antibody to 100 over. But 2 months later, drop back to 50. Actually, you are 50, you are 100, you are 1,000, you are 2. Doesn't matter. When the virus coming, they will increase and fight. Doesn't matter. But this doctor, ordinary, he doesn't know so much about liver. So he said, okay, do another time. I do about 3-4 times. And because the liver specialist checked my record, medical record, I live a healthy life, I play sports, I exercise regularly. How can you have liver cancer? And then I told him my record. Then I took 10 years ago. 10 years ago, after the 3-4 set of the vaccine, I developed liver cancer. And the liver specialist scolded me, how can you go at so many times? Because this vaccine woke up the sleeping cell. And that's why you got cancer. Because the virus caused the cancer. So these are the possible cause by 2 liver specialists. So I went back and scolded my regular doctor. He said, cannot be. But when I told him, if the patient you're waiting on hepatitis B, then he be quiet. So I do not know, but according to the 2 liver specialists, I got this cancer from the vaccine. Any question?
I think okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So God bless you. God bless you. And then
Amen.
it is a very amazing sound that the hepatitis cancer usually
Very serious.
almost always die. The important
thing I just know that because I'm treating the guys on disease before, and then we have vaccine, and then we have some of them they cannot increasing of the life. So they can because of your immune tolerance, your immunity is not normal. So when you get infected, injections again, so it reactivate.
Yeah.
And then your immune is underlying. We have also as a pediatric gastroenterologist and then we are doctor and Professor Young, right? You always if someone to get vaccine and then you measure it doesn't or you have to repeat it. But at that time you don't have any vaccine. At least maybe some case that you have to be aware. And then nowadays nowadays there's Trump who say that often John they Kennedy said no vaccines.
Yeah.
About it any kind.
Robert
Even
Kennedy.
though the everyone is free vaccine shouldn't be must not be even at birth. Because at birth because it's easily you got that, but no one knows which of them. And then I think even have to be when we discussing BJ, help us to explain about the AFC and
Yeah, I'm sure you're all curious how does it actually work now, right?
Okay. Thank
Thank
you.
you for your wonderful testimony.
Yeah.
And thank you, Dr. Randolph, for inviting me and making this meeting possible. Thank you, doctors, for taking your time to come. And it's my honor to be here to present about this new technology that really touches the very core of one of the most important functions in our body. So AIC again, once again, stands for anti-orbital ionic function. I'm sure it's probably many of us the first time hearing it. So let you know that we are a company that's engaged in active research and development. So we cooperate with many cancer centers and universities around the world. We're getting pretty good research results, and some of them are published. I'd like to start out with the word calciumopathy. You may find it in the internet. Calciumopathy refers to a group of diseases caused by disruptions in the use of calcium within cells. So we're going to be talking about what's really happening in cell and why is calcium so important at cellular level. These disruptions can affect various cellular functions, including ion channel activity, regulatory pathways, mitochondrial function, and elevated oxidative stress. Okay, so all right, and the basic principles of AIC, ionic calcium therapy, is can we restore cellular calcium signaling and reverse calciumopathy? Okay, so that's where the main target is. So, anti-orbital ionic calcium carbonate, so it's CaCO3, it's just like calcium carbonate. What's the difference, right? You can see that this is regular calcium carbonate, most abundant form of calcium in nature. Very strong ionic bonding here, so you need very strong stomach acid. And even with that, very small percentage is digested and absorbed. So we changed that bonding with a different chemical bonding, which is anti-orbital bonding or anti-bonding or sigma anti-bonding, right? It's very weak bonding. Therefore, this molecule itself has some polarity. You know how water molecules have a polarity? This one also has polarity. And it is very different in chemical property and physical property, and also how it works in our body. Now, there's a study that shows that if you have low bone density, then your all-cause mortality rise by 38%. Isn't that interesting? That's excluding death related to fracture, meaning that somehow if you have weak bone health, then you get more susceptible to diseases and you die early. 38%, a huge increase. So if you want to live longer, we're just going to invest where are you going to invest? Bone health, right? All right. You can see here the Death by Calcium by Dr. Thomas Levy. He's a cardiologist. And he says in his book, all chronic degenerative diseases feature increased extracellular and intracellular calcium. Funny, right? All chronic degenerative diseases have one feature is common to all, like a common denominator, that is increased extracellular and intracellular calcium. And this is actually caused by the constant chronic loss of calcium from our bones. So that's why it also connects to somehow if you have weaker bone, then you can have some effects in cellular level. And because it always increases intracellular oxidative stress. You know, this will damage your DNA and RNA and proteins, and it wreaks havoc in your cell. But then it goes actually more than that because it disrupts calcium signaling, right? So Dr. Ramatini also said, of course, all these diseases may have many causes, you know that. But they also all have one thing in common, ionic calcium deficiency. So we'll keep coming up with the term ionic calcium. Now, ionic calcium is the only active form of calcium in our body. And this form is the one that's causing all this. Okay? So stronger bone obviously will lead to healthy life. A study done, long-term study in Denmark, 35,000 people. Okay? If you have strong bone in your 50s, you live 11.6 years longer. So those who are interested in longevity, you want to invest in longer life, healthier life, where would you invest? Bone health. But the sciences over the years have connected the dots wisely. Okay? So it says that such subtle dysregulation of calcium signals have been linked to some of the major diseases in humans, such as cardiac disease, schizophrenia, bipolar, Alzheimer's disease, and over 150 degenerative diseases are related to calciumopathy. Cellular calcium signaling, right? So calcium is not just bone and teeth, right? Calcium is all about communication in our body. Most important signaling molecule. Often kind of neglected in the medical world because there's nothing we can do about it. Right? But in the research world, it's very hot topic. You see here, keep going deeper and deeper, you find out that cellular calcification, right? This is what brings all that havoc as we age. So what I'm going to talk about today is not calcium supplementation. It is calcium therapy. There are a lot of things going on also in the nutrition world about calcium supplement. No more doctors and nutritionists are recommending calcium supplementation at all because it just calcifies your body. All the calcium goes in the wrong form, right? The inactive form, and it just calcifies your body even more, right? So now they're recommending more just vitamin D for better absorption, and then it's K2 for transporting calcium in the right places. But that alone cannot really build your bone, nor really affect, restore that calcium absorption at cellular level, right? So yeah, it helps, but it doesn't really make that much difference, right? Okay, I think this concept is very important because we are dealing with primary and root causes of the disease. Right? And sometimes doctors, especially naturopathic doctors, they focus on how do we detox, right? Get that all, heavy metals and chemicals, how do we detox? And more virus and viral and all these things, inflammation, some imbalances in hormone and stress, lifestyle, diet, all those things are related to unhealthy lifestyle, including emotions and all that, right? So these disease progression happens, right? But in the research world, they are talking about secondary cause, and this is important because primary cause can really lead to what's called calciumopathy. This is where the disease momentum accelerates and all the symptoms is really hard to reverse because once this happens, there's really nothing out there that can undo this, right? You know how difficult to remove calcification is, right? You solve this calcification, right? Calcium everywhere, so try to remove it, right? But if it happens in cellular level, it's there. What do? If it's in brain cells, it's there. If it's in heart cells, it's there. even immune cells, everywhere. So, calciumopathy means that cells miscommunicating, mitochondria is not working properly, it produces tons of oxidative free radicals, it has damaged its own cells. No plant-based antioxidants can actually quench if your mitochondria become the factory of free radicals, right? So this is a major cause. That's why disease progression happens. Over 150 diseases are now linked to this. Okay? So our focus is decalcify from cells, right? If you take all that calcification out of the cells, then cells might communicate properly, mitochondrial function can be restored, maybe the elevated oxidative stress can go down, and we can restore cellular function, right? So that's the target, but it's been almost impossible to make this happen. But the idea was always suggested by researchers. So if we can somehow stop calciumopathy from happening, they're saying that even though we have these, right, we still be able to slow down the progression or even stop the progression of disease because this is where it gets really worse. Right? If you get a gatekeeper here, then you're going to see a huge difference. Okay, so we're going to go through some calcium basics. There's, at a given moment, our blood has about 50% of its calcium in ionic. Right? The 5% inorganic calcium and 45% protein calcium. But this is the only active form. And the body can utilize all this. But the problem is, as we age, utilization of these calcium gets worse, and we tend to get the ionic calcium from our bones. But now these are the functions of ionic calcium in our body. Then the neurotransmitter, second messenger, your hormone secretion, enzyme activation, all depends on calcium signaling. Immune function, cell membrane stability, transcription, mitochondrial function, cell cycle repair, autophagy, apoptosis, stem cell regulation, all these things depend on calcium signaling. That's a lot, right? That's a lot. That's why it's the most highly regulated molecule in our body. You can live without calcium, this vitamin D deficiency. You measure the vitamin D, be low, sometimes it could be high if you take it my supplementation, right? Your body cannot really regulate it that well. But then calcium is different. At a given moment, it's a little high, slightly high, right? Just a few percent high, your body has to bring it back to homeostasis. If it's slightly low, just a few percent, your body has to bring it back up, right? That's why calcium goes in and out of your bones, in and out of your kidneys, in and out of your intestines, right? It's so important. Why? Because this is the most important communication molecule. However, as we age, all this homeostasis is broken down. That's the problem. You can see how calcium plays all different roles in cellular level. It's leading ion at least other ionic functions as well. You see here, all these are the symbols of calcium signaling, right? The two buffers, the walls of mitochondria and endoplasmic reticulum. This is a major reservoir. So you can't have calcification happening here. It dysfunctions as a buffer. You see that it uses amplitude modulation and frequency modulation. Like AM radio, okay? That's how you send signal. And FM radio, right? Body uses them both. There's a complicated signaling they control. We thought cell was complex enough, right? But then who knew that there's a signaling system, right, that is just as complicated? Our cells are amazing, right? So whether it's the amplitude, duration, location, and frequency that determines different outcome. So calcium signaling is one of the most important signaling in our cells. Okay? That's why it's most regulated ion. How many ions in our body uses these many organs? Right? That's why calcium is a special. Don't treat calcium like magnesium, not like zinc. Don't treat it the same level, I'm saying. Right? There's no zinc signaling or magnesium signaling right? It controls transcription, DNA replication, cell cycle, right? Calcium is the molecule that controls all this. So don't treat ionic calcium with other things. Potassium is important, sodium is important. We know that has a function. But nothing works like calcium. It's in a different league, right? But I just wanted to set calcium apart from all the other competitors, right? How important this is. That's why when, the serum calcium levels slightly rises, calcitonin comes out, very important hormone that builds our bone and puts calcium into our bone, right? And then slightly low, parathyroid hormone comes out, right? And then it resorbs our bone. Body cannot wait to get the ionic calcium instantly. Otherwise, the heart will stop. Because all the muscle contraction everything uses calcium. That's why it's important to understand this. That's why all the calcium that's going in your body, whether it's from diet, from your food, or supplements, doesn't matter. It has to go in protein-bound, inactive form because your body's maintaining that homeostasis of ionic form. If any of that goes in ionic form, especially how much we take each day, which is 1,000 milligrams, my goodness, then it's going to throw off everything. It's like running 220 volts with your iPhone. Okay, it's going to burn everything. That's why all the calcium goes in inactive form. And if you cannot utilize this protein form well, then you're in trouble. Okay. So calcium intake and calcium utilization are two different issues. Most people, when they experience ionic calcium deficiency, it cannot be resolved by just putting wrong form of calcium in your body, thinking that, I'll just put it in and the body's going to take care of it. No. Astronauts in space, after 6 months stay in the space station, there's no gravity, they come down to Earth with average 14% or loss. Some all the way up to 30%. Not because their diet is lacking calcium. They get plenty of calcium in their body. But then there's no gravity up there, so your muscle and bone is not really stressed as well. So body needs ionic calcium. Body cannot utilize the protein calcium. So what do you think your body's getting? Your bone. So when you're breaking down the bone, we're also releasing phosphorus as well, and it elevates calcification factor. So the problem with the astronauts coming down is not just low bone density, but a lot of calcification in the body. Okay. So ionic calcium deficiency happens because a lot of times lifestyle is very sedentary. We're not engaged in activities that challenge our bones and our muscles as much. And then there's some hormonal changes in our body, and then some junk foods, and it makes your body acidic. The more acidic your body is, it leaches calcium from our bones, right? So, are we supposed to take calcium supplements or not? Studies have shown, numerous studies have shown, that if you do, then you actually have more calcification and it could adversely affect your health. Okay, so simple diagram. Ionic calcium deficiency your body experiences. It leads to bone resorption, cellular calcification, and calciumopathy. And this happens to everybody as we age, it's just at different rates. Some slower than the others. So ionic calcium dysfunction happens whether it's age-related hormonal issues, stress, sedentary lifestyle, inflammation, fatty tissues, imbalances, and all those things leads to cellular calcification, calcium signaling dysfunction, mitochondrial dysfunction, oxidative stress, cellular inflammation that will lead to so many degenerative diseases. So cellular decalcification, if we could bring it about, then it could reverse all this. But as you know, decalcifying your body was once considered impossible, right? But let's see what AIC does. This is calcific-tendinitis case. Disappears. It takes all that dystrophic calcium and brings back to where it belongs, your bones. this is a doctor in Singapore, right? Had an accident, and then the heterotronic calcification happened. It was very painful, but it kind of went away a month and a half period. Okay, so I've shown you this before. So this is how weak sigma antibody looks like compared to regular ionic bond. We're the only one in the world who know how to make this happen. Okay, so it's 200 times more soluble, 3 times faster in chemical reaction. But the important thing is there's no anions produced. But you see here that this is the only calcium that without digestion, and it is absorbed through your stomach, not your small intestine, not with the help of vitamin D, but then it just goes in directly in your body in an ionic form. So thing is that because of anti-overlapping bonding, when it breaks, it releases oxygen, it releases carbon dioxide, and then it surrounds itself in the process with 6 water molecules. So our blood has a lot of water, right? H2O. So it's H2O and H2O, so our body is water. But because of this structure, it keeps this molecule from binding to amino acids in your blood. So what's going to happen if you just infuse, let's say, calcium chloride? You mix the salt in the water, saline solution, a lot of calcium ions, and you put it in your serum. What's going to happen? Instantly bind with other binders, neutralized. But because of this, it doesn't bind. It remains ionic. And it's actually able to elevate serum ionic calcium level. But we have seen before what happens if the serum ionic calcium rises a little bit slightly. It triggers the release of calcitonin. The C cells of your thyroid release calcitonin. And that is the hormone that our body uses to rebuild our bone. Medical world once thought that as we age, maybe we don't make calcitonin anymore, right? And then other researchers found out that we do. It's just that we don't have enough ionic calcium to trigger it because all of us are experiencing ionic calcium deficiency. Right? So there's no switch to trigger calcitonin. That's why the medical pharmaceutical world, they focused on exogenous calcitonin treatments using animal calcitonin. That came with so many side effects. And then even the administration is so difficult. Like you have nasal spray that irritates your noses, so you got to switch your noses each day. And they came out with anti-resorptive drugs like bisphosphonate and denosumab, the injection you get like once a month. It makes it so much easier. So no one's taking calcitonin. But the anti-resorptive drug is so bad for your health. Because you do need healthy bone remodeling happening to repair your bone every day. Essentially, these drugs, they stop bone remodeling. So you're repairing your bone. You're not losing calcium from your bone, but then every day the damages are happening. All the crossings are broken, but it's not repaired. That's why people have been taking these bone resorptive drugs. They do that, they do DEXA scan. Bone density is okay, but the bone is so much weaker. And there are research that shows that if you get a fracture after taking these drugs, your fracture looks terrible. And your bone health, gone. Right? So it's kind of deceptive in a way, right? Just using bone density to see how it's helping your bone. It's actually getting worse. But what AIC does is it triggers your endogenous calcitonin, your own calcitonin, that could start rebuilding your bone, right? So we actually perfected calcitonin treatment for our bone. Used to be, the medical world has always known it's calcitonin, but then they kind of failed in making it into drug because it's not a side effect, just like any other exogenous hormonal treatment can be a lot of side effects, right? And it's animal calcitonin. It didn't really work that well. But now we can tap into endogenous calcitonin, which is good. So far, everything makes sense? Any questions? Just feel free to just interrupt, think of any.
Issue under the calcium therapy that is calcitonin level increase in
Oh yes, yes, that's something that can be measured. But then I'm going to go into some of the research we have done, right?
evidence show.
Yes, yes, of course. Yeah, yeah, yes.
The other question is what is the mechanism that the ionic calcium ion dissolve or the deposit calcium in the tissue?
Oh, okay, okay. So when you're starting to build bone, right, you need calcium. But all the calcium gets trapped there, right, because your body's using it to build the bone, right? So problem before was how we have too much calcium coming out from our bones and then it accumulates at cellular level. So not intracellular, but just extracellular calcium level rises, right? So all that was the problem, but because calcium has no place to go, it's just coming out of the bone, no place to go. I think it's just excreted or accumulates somewhere, right? But now we found a way that all of that, because now body's hungry to rebuild your bone. Right? By the way, only 1% of calcium is in our blood. Very, very small amount, but then it's so important. So all that calcium now gets trapped in your bone because the bone needs it, right, to rebuild it. That's why even people with hypercalcemia, after taking AIC, hypercalcemia comes down as well at normal level. You're bringing calcium homeostasis in your body. Okay, so this is how AIC works. Okay, so it does not bind. It goes in, and regular calcium ion goes in and instantly binds. That's why until now there's no solution. Right? Okay, we know how to do this, but then just as soon as you put calcium in your body, even in ionic form, in the active form the body needs, it's just neutralized. But then because of this technology, it can stay ionic in your body for several hours, and it's able to trigger all these hormonal responses. That's the difference. So this is the only calcium that no digestion required. It goes in ionic form, and it triggers all these health effects. But all the other calcium gets digested, goes down to small intestine, and through vitamin D and peptides, it goes into our body in inactive form. So our water molecules have hydrogen bond, right? This AIC works together with it. And it has very different physical property. You know what happens when you boil water without calcium in it? Oh, you see the white residue at the bottom of the pot, right? This one is different. It just flies out together with water molecules. It's balanced water molecules. So usually about 4.3 to 5.6 milligram per deciliter is ionic calcium concentration in our serum. You only need very small amount. So we're just adding 2 to 3% increase here, which is healthy range. Your body actually wants to experience this, but we don't. We don't have that increase because if you go to the gym and then you're working out for the several hours intensively, right? Then you're using up the protein calcium, right? The body uses the protein and releases ionic calcium. So you're going to have some more ionic calcium in your body. As we age 60, 70, 80 years old, how many can do that? Right? Even if they do, in the process, they're going to wear out all their joints. It's actually bad for them. So, but as far as the calcium is concerned, signaling, because a slight increase in our blood is an indication for your body that, oh, I must be engaged in very strenuous activity. It's time to protect my bone. That's why calcitonin comes out. It's always been this signal, right? But I guess now we're able to do this. So what happens is elevated serum ionic calcium level, your pituitary releases TSH, And your C cells in the thyroid releases calcitonin, increases bone turnover, and then we can do this multiple times a day, and then we can maximize the release of calcitonin because now we're able to do it, found the key, and then it restores calcium balance in the body. Okay, so ionic calcium, you use calcitonin, and then you overlay. This is a process. And in the due process, also your osteoblasts release what's called osteocalcin, another very important hormone that we lose as we age. And this is great for improved insulin sensitivity, beta cell proliferation, neurotransmitter production, increased memory and cognition, right? So this is also another hormonal pattern. Okay? So we did an animal trial. And then we actually removed the ovaries from the rats. And you can see that when we induced osteoporosis, the bone mineral density drops. Okay? But then with AIC, it comes right back up. CTX is the bone resorption marker, right? The higher the number you have, losing the bone faster, right? You see the number went up, but then it came down again, right? Osteocalcin then also was restored, and estradiol level also restored as well. And University of Arkansas, they did another test. This time is interesting because they actually used rats, animals that are 18 plus months old, I mean, pretty old, with us show the sign of severe age-related osteoporosis. We're working with a very old bone, and then they found out that ALC induces bone formation. It significantly increases osteoblast count. See that? And then also reverses the bone health. Okay, so you can see here, this is an 8-month human study that shows how many male and female, right, that increases the bone health. 65% of osteopenia patients became normal bone density. 64% of osteoporosis, osteopenia, right, and then 12% fully normalized. Significant study. It just recently got published. Yes. And there's another study just came out. I had to make this morning, okay, from Songyungan University, one of the famous universities in South Korea. This is significant study because we have actually, in animal trials, we're able to kind of do the bone fracture test and all, right? But here they looked at it with a micro CT. We showed higher bone mineral density and stronger trabecular network with more bone volume and trabeculate and lower structure index and surface to volume ratio than ovary blast. So they also removed the ovaries and induced osteoporosis and compared it, right? And also showed that the bone, ALP increased and osteocalcin increased, CTX reduced, P1NP improved. P1NP is a bone formation marker. The problem with osteoporosis drugs is that CTX plummets, right? Because you're killing osteoclast cells, right? You're bringing CTX down to the unhealthy level. And you don't see P1NP increasing at all because no formation is taking place, right? But for the first time, naturally, using our body's own calcitonin, CTX comes down, P1NP, it goes up, rebuilding the bone. And you can see here that, what I mean, after ovary removal, this is the micro CTs and blood turnover, okay. AIC reduced the osteoclast gene activity without harming the cells. Bisphosphonase kills osteoclast cells. Denosumab actually it disrupts the formation of osteoclast cells, right? But this one leaves your healthy osteoclast cells. Just change the gene expression so that you can build healthy bone. First time in the world, we have found a way to trigger natural bone building without any side effects. You see here, the 60-year-old female, yellow is osteopenia, red is osteoporosis. We're able to significantly increase bone to normal level within very short period of time.
How many months of treatment or
3 months. This kind of won't change because body suddenly sees that, oh my goodness, I'm in trouble. Let's focus on building bone. Right? So your body will take all the nutrients and start building bone. You're doing this multiple times a day. You're taking 3 times a day, period, 3 to 6 month period of time, you're going to see significant change. Sometimes you're not going to see this much change in bone density because your body has to clear a lot of debris and then repair. Right? But the bone is definitely getting stronger, that's for sure. So here you can see that 58-year-old female, you see that relatively very short period of time was able to reach normal bone density. Once you give your body a chance, your body is very quick in healing itself, very powerful. You see here, she was here. 1 year later, she measured it, she was way up here. Now has a 30-year bone. We're talking about the real bone, repaired bone, strong bone. She fell in the winter, right? Slipped and then fell on the concrete floor, same place 3 times, not even a hairline fracture. Well, I just put this here this year. 56-year-old male, been taking AIC for 7 years, just 1 dose a day, is maintenance, because it has all the health benefits too. And then he measured his DEXA, right? And then found out that his T-score is way up here, right? This is the average, right? This is average. So lower bracket, higher bracket, we can see that he's way up there. Meaning, but that's just L1, L2. L1, L4, L3, L4, 2.2, 2.8 cannot be put in the chart. That's how strong this one is. So this study is actually published. This is just male and we have another female, but the blue is before and green is after. You can see that all these significant changes. So bone health, as far as bone health is concerned, nothing in the world comes in close to what this can, right? So it's published and it's also presented in ASBMR. Research was accepted. This is the largest, of such conference in the United States. Association, it's American Society of Bone and Mineral Research. What happens if you have fracture? It heals fracture pretty fast. And it's complete healing. What happens if you extract a tooth? Usually, this cavitation doesn't get filled. This is lower jaw too, right? 60-year-old man. But with AIC, it's simply filled without bone graft. A lot of our biologic dentists are using our product. People who cannot do implants are able to do implants. You see here that our body has stem cells, but the reason the stem cells are not really working, you can see that in the research, it's not a conclusion, right? The concentrations and the ratios of calcium to phosphocyanins could significantly influence proliferation, differentiation, and mineralization of human periodontal ligament stem cells, right? It has a 2-to-1 ratio, 2-to-1 and 9 to 4.5. That's when your stem cells can be activated to repair. But for most people, we don't have it. Not 2-to-1, it's 1 to 2, 1 to 3, right? So you're not getting the signal. And calcium has to be 9. Look how low it is. Phosphorus is within range, right? But then calcium is too low. That's why if you take AIC and you squeeze around your mouth, it gets all absorbed with ionic in your mouth as well. And then you bring that ratio to the right level, start to trigger your own stem cells to get to work. You don't need stem cell injections. You have your own stem cells. Just give them the right signal and be back. Why all our stem cells are not active as the old? Main signal, signal, that's off. No wonder the stem cells are not activated. Look at this, right? Acting as an intracellular messenger, calcium ion has a key role in cell signaling pathways in various differentiation stages of stem cells. Calcium-mediated signaling is essential for the maintenance of stem cells and for promoting their development and differentiation. So they always say, these researchers, also focusing on their therapeutic potential, but until now, there's really no way. Right? But AIC, okay, you see that people cannot do implants. Okay, what about autoimmunity? Right? The studies have already shown, and there are many studies like this, that research in this area has also established the importance of calcium pathways in the development of autoimmune disease. A lot of doctors are treating autoimmune disease in many different ways, but then this is one thing that happens. That's why this is also a calcium happening. Autoimmune disease is also calcium. But then we can't ignore that because there's nothing we could do, and we try to help patients with other things. But fundamentally, because cell signaling, how the immune cells work, it's a hard to have calcium signaling. But the signaling is off, then your immune cells are off too, right? In the case of T and B lymphocytes, these signals can rise to multiple changes in the intracellular DNA expression with the consequent production of various inflammatory markers, right? Okay, I mean, there are a lot of researchers that support this. You can see that the B and T lymphocytes, it's all calcium signaling. So once you have this off, it's not going to function properly, right? Calcium signaling is of paramount importance in immunity. Okay, let's see, just, sometimes picture speaks 1,000 words, right? Tried a lot of, some Korean lady, tried a lot of things. Doctor only prescribed steroid cream that didn't work. And with AIC, within about 3 months, went away. Dermatitis case, right? For so many years, she tried so many from Eastern to Western medicine. It didn't really help. AIC took care of it. Psoriasis case.
Jake, these are just Marajan for that.
Marajan, yeah. I'm talking about all Marajan. Because that's the calcium that goes in and then triggers the bone building to calcify, restoring cellular responses and communication, right? Just for 20 years, she's been suffering and took care of it within 6 months. Whether it's Crohn's disease, rheumatoid arthritis, right? We had good cases of lupus, Meniere's disease, and all these things. Okay? All the science, by the way, please, this can be available for you to further read. I'm not going to read everything here. Heart disease too, right? It says cellular, and in particular, sarcoplasmic reticulum calcium overload is undoubtedly a substrate for arrhythmia generation. Your heart cells are also calcified. It is not working properly. And it's not just contraction, but all that, the timing and rhythm and all that, right? Research seeking to elucidate links between calcium homeostasis in cardiac cells and organ scale destruction of heart rhythm. Why have your rhythms off? Because from cellular level. Right? So look at this. Although it has been long appreciated that pathological cellular calcium overload can lead to a pro-arrhythmogenic state, it is only recently that a clearer understanding of the importance of defective calcium signaling in the arrhythmia pathogenesis has emerged. So they're discovering now that, it's a calcium problem. My goodness. You can understand, right? That's why we had one patient with a mitral valve collapse. This guy was in Vancouver, actually. No, I think Richmond. Yeah, it's close, right? And that he was told by his cardiologist that he was not, right? And then, so he was so weak he could not get out of his bed. And so he says that he was taking AIC. I immediately felt the increase of my energy. 3 months after taking AIC, it's about 3 to 6 months is a sweet period, sweet spot. I began walking on my treadmill. Initially, I walked for 15 minutes. After 2 months, I began jogging. And so when he reached about 5th month, he was jogging on a treadmill. I met this guy 2016 when I was in Vancouver, King, and my goodness, he was living new life. He was talking about how his sister who had rheumatoid arthritis, he had with crooked fingers now had a normal hand. His son was so short, couldn't play in basketball team, shut up so fast, and they now able to play basketball. So many good news that he had to share. Okay. All right. And then neurodegeneration. My goodness, there's so many studies coming out now linking, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, multiple sclerosis, and Huntington, all these with calcium issues. Right? Disrupted calcium homeostasis drives AC pathogenesis. Right? This says collectively, the available data show that perturbed cellular calcium homeostasis plays a prominent role. It's not a small role, but a prominent role in the pathogenesis of Alzheimer's disease. Right? So current treatment kind of focus on how to really prevent or eliminate the buildup of these proteins, right, of the entanglements. But then all these research kind of failed in clinical trials. So researchers went deeper to find out why these things happen in the first place, and they found out that it's a calcium issue. Okay, because of these calcium signaling abnormalities, balance is broken in synaptic mechanism, and that's why the AD happens. And also, this is Parkinson's disease, right? Because of calcium signaling affects all aspects of the neuronal cell biology, cells must tightly regulate calcium level to avoid uncontrolled responses. So yeah, we understand, how modern medical technology couldn't really do much for Alzheimer's and Parkinson's at all. But we have patients who are starting to remember family members. Parkinson's tremors are disappearing. Even ALS patients getting to mobility, right? All these things, good things are happening. Anyways, this research, this figure shows how calcium deposits can appear in the brain, especially in aging and Alzheimer's disease. This figure illustrates the structure of blood vessels of the central nervous system of where the calcification can appear, right? We just sent out advanced calcium research to send out really good newsletter about all this. Once you read it, you understand how the calcium is actually calcium dysfunction plays a key role in the development of these diseases. But I'm going to go a little faster here. Okay. This is a remarkable case because it shows a timeline, what happens, right? So age 74, he was diagnosed with dementia and all that, but because he was a good athlete. He could actually run 45 kilometers a week regularly until he had a fitness issue. So he switched to walking 40 kilometers a week until his knees gave up. And then he had dementia, could not find his way home. Right? So, but look what happens. In 2019 June, he started Ionic calcium therapy. In March of 2020, so it took about 9 months. But think about it, right? For 9 months, you're decalcifying. You're building these bones, right? And cells are regenerating. Until you can see that in the symptom level that people can see the difference, it takes some time, right? So 9 months later, he was able to remember conversation and names. And he didn't really, less of displacement of items, and he was now able to find ways home. That's 2 years after that this happened. Now he's able to find his ways home. And then you can see how it accelerates, right? By May of 2020, so 2 months later, the energy level was really increasing. His cellular metabolism is coming back. And you see that he lost 10 centimeters on waist. And then he could use his knees better. So he actually canceled kneecap operation. And by July, he could walk more than 10 kilometers without stopping. And by August, it's back to walking 6 kilometers daily. And then by September, he walks 40 kilometers weekly. This kind of change, well, a little over 2 years, but amazing change. He has stronger bone, stronger joints, right? More energy, more cognition, more memory, right? More active now. If you ask the family, okay, 2 years of AI, so just this is a marathon, right? Was this worth it? Was it too expensive? They say no. Actually, very, very cheap for what they've experienced. Okay, now we're at the topic I guess maybe you've been waiting for, which is oncology. Well, Dr. Carl Reich considered cancer as the ultimate adaptation to ionic calcium deficiency. Interesting, because once calcium is off, then your cell cannot repair. The cell cycle goes on, and the mutation accumulates. Then even P53 turns off. The cells cannot commit suicide, so it doesn't multiply, right? So cancer is tightly related to calcium dysfunction. Okay, look at the research. Altered calcium transmission has been implicated in a variety of processes fundamental for the uncontrolled proliferation and invasiveness of tumor cells and other processes important for cancer progression. Calcium ion is a ubiquitous and versatile signaling molecule controlling a wide variety of cellular processes such as proliferation, cell death, migration, immune response, all fundamental processes essential for the establishment of cancer. Let me tell you, tons of studies. You can just go to internet and type calcium signaling, ionic calcium in cancer. So many researchers you count. Has been a hot topic in the research world. But then in the treatment, you don't have anything. Why? Because there's no way that you could change this. Right? But we know for sure that ionic calcium dysfunction is related to the establishment of cancer, cancer progression, metastasis, and all that. Right? So we can see that ionic calcium therapy may have some effect on cancer. Right? Look at how cancer, whether it's adaptive mechanism, bone metastasis, survival pathways. It says here in conclusion, while it's theoretically possible for every high levels of extracellular calcium to be toxic to cells, the levels of calcium elevation seen in the context of cancer are often within a range that promotes cancer growth rather than inhibits it. Okay, all right. So now we know cancer is tightly related to calcium, right? But we also know that cancer cells thrive in an acidic environment, right, which can evade immune defenses, right? You can see how that lactic acid can be neutralized by calcium ion. Usually, this is the microtumor environment. It releases lactic acid, and the pH goes down to 6 to 6.5. It essentially turns on all the immune function. So it's like wearing an invisible cloak. Your cancer can evade immune response. And the acidic environment is a perfect environment to bring in blood vessels, angiogenesis. Angiogenesis, and then, get all the nutrients too. But ionic calcium is very effective in just neutralizing all that, bringing pH back out of the microtumor environment, turn on your immune response, so the immune system can attack directly, and then it eliminates angiogenesis. Very effective in doing that. Okay, and also cancer disables P53, but there are a lot of research has shown that ionic calcium can turn P53 back on, right? The cancer makes enough NF-κB, and this disrupts the function of P53, but calcium ion can separate the bands between the two and reinitiate P53. You can also type that calcium ion and P53. A lot of research comes up with that. Okay. Well, you probably thought that this could be really good for bone metastasis or bone lytic lesions, right? It is. It is. You can see that it restores, builds bone faster than cancer breakdown. my friend's daughter. She was diagnosed with cervical cancer in 2012. After the surgery, recurrence happened, so she did chemo, comes back, chemo radiation, comes back. So she starts AIC May 2017, and about 4 months later, did biopsy and says, hey, it's benign. So she was so happy she left. Okay, because you're supposed to go through that protocol and keep going strong until you eradicate from your body, and then you can phase out. But that's why recurrence happened. So she traveled around the world for different therapies, including ablation. Didn't help, so she comes in November 19, 2019, starts AIC again. This time it took a little longer, twice as long, but she did biopsy again because benign. This is the first time that she was benign. This is the second time. So when she did the PET scan in 2021, it's clinically cancer-free. And I only have her picture to 2023. I still talk to her, right? She still orders to take the maintenance, it was 1 dose a day, still cancer-free. So recently I asked, hey, Joanne, you are now past 5 years, right? And she was so happy, yeah, because usually within the 5-year period, well, about 97% of recurrence, right? Still cancer-free. You can see how this was a lymphoma case in South Korea. It gets smaller and smaller, shrink itself, right? Just on AIC. Some of the cases we don't know how to explain, but it just happened that I'm sharing. This guy had colorectal cancer, so many lesions, right? Doctor couldn't operate. Your body after 4 to 5 days started to excrete it. That's why it's like best way is let your body fight it, right? Let your body fight it. This was Indonesia case, breast cancer. She was actually living with cancer. A lot of people choose to live with cancer with hormonal therapy, and then because once she comes out on the blade, it might spread the cancer. She was afraid of it, so the doctor recommended her to it. As long as it's, let's just see, 7 years. All that she did was just add AIC. So just a little over a month period of time. Let's look at the changes. This part, completely gone. This part, smaller and smaller and smaller. This is your largest picture, right?
This one is Marajan with AIC.
Not just Mars.
Just Marajan.
Just Mars. We didn't have ASSG back then. Mars alone, very powerful. Okay, now, by the way, this is a very small presentation today. Usually I have way longer, but then, but in that slide there, we have a lot more cases that we can show. Just a sample, right? So SG is a little different. It's another molecule. SG stands for stealth glucose. So this is looks like a calcium gluconate, but then we put anti-oxidant here, right? So just like a calcium carbonate model, it has different physical property and how body takes in. So body's not treating this as calcium, glucose. It goes through the glucose transport, right? So it goes in as glucose in our body. So when this goes into your body, it doesn't trigger calcitonin release or anything like that. Body still sees that as glucose. Right? So no serum ionic otherwise, there's no calcitonin, no bone building happen. It just goes in as glucose. It's stealth. We got the idea from PET scan because PET scan also uses the glucose with the chlorine isotope, right? So cancer is hungry for glucose, up to 200 times, so the uptake is huge. So if you give this in the morning, and then it ends up in a lot of cancer cells, and that's how you find out where the cancer is. Okay, so what happens if you take this glucose tagged with anti-oxidant calcium, and it goes into the cancer cells, and the cancer metabolizes it, that antioxidant bonding is broken and releases anion free radicals. It can be deadly for cells. But in normal cells where there's enough oxygen, right, no issues, very safe. But in a hypoxic environment, cancer becomes toxic. That's why this is a selective killing, right? Just cancer cells, and very safe for your normal cells. And then also, a lot of calcium is released within cancer cells that can disrupt calcium homeostasis in cancer cells, which is different from the normal cells, right? And it could also disrupt the function of cancer cells as well. In our first study was in vitro study. You can see that it kills cancer cells selectively. And then we also did another animal trial with SG. It shows that in about 3 weeks of period of time, that's when we see that tumor starts growing. Right? So now what we have is a combination therapy for cancer. Now this was powerful enough, right? But this did not kill cancer directly. Right? It could also help turn on p53 and that cancer from suicide, certain phenotypes, but not all cancer cells can do that. Right? It has more systemic effect, right? Turning on your immune system and exposing your cancer and all that. But ASSG is more targeted therapy, targeting cancer, glucose hungry cancer. Let's look at this one, breast cancer case. Male, right? But with breast cancer. So this is a type of cancer diagnosed in February 2019. The consequence to his bones and spines, and he could not even get up from his bed, so painful. Only gave him 2 months to live. Had surgery, chemo, radiation, second chemo, and all that, right? But long story short, this is what happens. Usually. Pretty fast, right?
Or you mean from behind to the front? Original is February, May.
Yeah, February, May, and August. This guy is stage 3 diagnosed in October 2022. So he went under the radiation therapy. So this is the date that ended December 2nd. And then he found out about this therapy. He goes under combination therapy, right? But he also did 4 rounds of targeted chemo. A good thing is that undergoing chemo, he didn't feel any different. The doctors are kind of surprised. You feel okay? Yeah, I'm feeling okay. That's another effect of AIC, because AIC can really protect your body, your cells, so that people who had chemo, if it took 1 week for them to recover, they can recover in 2 days. Right? And then in his case, he did not feel much. In the 3rd and 4th round of chemo, he just lost a little bit of appetite, and it's working. Still working. Okay, so let's look what happens from him. So this is what happened when the MRI shows, visualize his lymph nodes are affected, and then the mass about 5 centimeters in length, about 6 centimeters away from the anal verge. So this was what happened after getting the AIC. And also he did radiation before, and he had targeted therapy. But this definitely surprised them. Because they weren't expecting this, because February, and February he was supposed to, just a little mixed up. Yeah, okay. Maybe that. In the February he was actually the CT, because in March, a month later, he was scheduled for surgery. He was supposed to wear a costume bag. Think about the life quality, right? Quality of life that he will have once, you have to wear that. But when the CT showed that there was no evidence of the disease, doctor was kind of, bobbing his head like this, and then told him, okay, next month we're going to go in. If you see anything, we still got to operate on. They went in, and then they pulled out. This is what happened March 1st. And then they actually had disagreement. One oncologist was saying that, hey, should we still operate on him? The other one said, there's nothing to operate on. Let's pull out and do MRI and go from there. Right? So the MRI shows, right, no definitive evidence of residual disease. So like, okay, what happened here? So they actually decided to get ctDNA, if there is any circulating tumor cells, and found out that it was negative. So May 9th, they called him again. There's another CT scan, negative. Right? Call him again for biopsy because they couldn't believe that this was happening. Right? And then nothing, benign. Okay. They call him again for endoscopy. Very clean. So they call in June for another ctDNA, August for another MRI, which is all clean. And then 9-month post-treatment history, you can see here, right? It shows pretty clean, right? ctDNA, another ctDNA, another MRI, and finally told them that you are cancer-free. They still don't understand. They're still calling in every 6 months. But then all the tests still come out negative. All that he did was prior treatment radiation. For 3 months, he did AIC plus ASSG. By the way, these have different mechanisms of action, so we recommend. I mean, you could try, the cost is inhibitive, but you try with AIC, right, and how it goes. But adding AIC, you have another advantage. So, and there are 4 rounds of targeted chemo. After that, this is when everything disappeared. So he went on the second 3 months with just 3 times of AIC daily. And then third and fourth 3 months for 6 months, 2 times. And then after that, it's 1 time. And then he's still doing just 1 time daily. Still cancer-free. Okay. So, oh, this is what it was. Okay, let's look at some of the pancreatic cancer case. Pancreatic cancer 2020, metastasis liver and pelvis. Right? So did some surgery, chemo, lead radiation, and all those things. They stopped the treatment because his condition was deteriorating rapidly. So he goes under in March February 14th, combination therapy 3 times daily. And so this is about 6 weeks later. 6 weeks later, liver CT shows increased size of low density lesions. So this could happen with immunotherapies too, right? Lesions can enlarge because there's immune response against it. But there are no new lesions. Okay, so that sounds good. But look at this. When the treatment starts here, his cancer marker just shoots up. Not because cancer is growing rapidly, but because it's dying out. The way that AICSG kills cancer is not with apoptosis, it's not through program death, but through more, I guess, necrosis, which just kills it. A little messy, but it kills it. Body cools it. That's why, but no side effects. Good thing is that this treatment has no side effects. So you can see that even the cancer marker is rising and all, and eventually you can see that it falls, right? Everything becomes normal, right? The patient's condition is always improving. There's no downside after treatments. It keeps getting better. Condition, even though the doctors sometimes they freaked out, oh, what's happening, right? But the patients are feeling better. ASS leukemia case, you can see that the prior treatment was a Levac and all these, but then didn't help. But within 4 months, everything normalizes. This is a primary lung cancer, metastasized in abdomen. See that disappearing. This is before, this is after. Our first AIC patient from Vancouver was metastasized, was a prostate cancer with metastasis. And he's the guy who made it all happen. Because we formulated AIC for a different purpose. It was not a medical purpose. But then it was so expensive. It was successful for that reason, but it was so expensive and complicated to make. It was just sitting on the inventor's shelf for a few years until his friend showed up in his office. So he picked up a bunch of medicines from, a drugstore, and then the inventor saw, Dr. Pauly saw calcium supplement. Right? Usually a lot of, I think back then, because a lot of cancer patients have low bone density and poor bone health, doctors may prescribe calcium supplements. We know for now that it doesn't help. But then that was mentality back then, right? Since you have a weak bone, and just give calcium, not knowing it actually make things worse. So he came to the office. Hey, well, you're taking calcium supplements. You know what? I have calcium supplement. Calcium you can take. I think it might be better for you. Gave it. 2 days later, he comes back. I'm sorry, he calls the inventor. Hey, Paul, what did you give me yesterday? Why? I can use it so much better. Wow, it helps you? That's good. Keep taking it. Long story short, within 1 year, he becomes cancer-free. To this day, he's taking 1 dose a day. Still cancer-free.
Since when we start taking?
Oh, yeah, 2010. 2010 or 2011, right? So, how many years? 15, 16 years, still cancer-free. This is actually, this was like in 2024. So, back then, Dr. Pauly didn't know why this was happening. He's a chemist. He made this for some other purpose. It was sitting on a shelf. By accident discovery. And then this opened up, like, what? And then he was keep looking. He's a brilliant man, so he's just consuming all of those articles about calcium and disease, and he's like, oh my goodness, this must be happening. So we had something that was already working. So he started giving to people with low bone density, and then he measured their bone density and found out that this rapid, recovery is happening. So he did animal trials and all these things, and keep studying, and so it came by accident, but now we're trying to find out why it works. And then we found out that there are tons of study, probably one of the most studied molecules in medical history, calcium ion. They all say the same thing, right? If we can do this, if you can do this, if you manipulate this, then you might have a therapeutic purpose, right? But until now, there was no way for that. And we know why it was so difficult, right? Because calcium is so tightly regulated. In this ionic form, it only rarely, it fluctuates within maximum plus minus percent. Right? The body has to quickly bring it back to the homeostasis. That's why calcium is very unique in our body. It's very unique role, multiple roles. The most important signaling molecule, however, it goes off as we age. There's so many other studies linking bone health to overall health. Now all the dots are connected. Only problem was, okay, now we know, but then how do we manipulate calcium homeostasis? AIC made it possible. Okay. So we are at a very exciting stage as a company because all the research is coming out. We are able to present this in AACR, which is the largest cancer research conference in the United States. It gathers 20,000 people, and our abstract was accepted. The University of Arkansas and the Moffitt Cancer Center. Right? These are name-brand cancer centers. Right? Number 3 in the United States, I believe, after MD Anderson, then there's one in New York, listed, Sloan Kettering, and then Moffitt is up there. But then, and also University of Arkansas, they also had best multiple myeloma center, and our research was also accepted by AACR. That's what he presented there as well. Right? Dr. Yun from University of Arkansas and Dr. Farmer from Moffitt. Right? And also, the multiple myeloma study is pretty interesting because, to our surprise, 80% of the AS treated mice survive until the end of the study. The bioluminescence image analysis showed that myeloma slowly progressed in both treated groups mice. DEXA results demonstrated that bone minerals significantly increased the spine of AS treated mice compared to the control mice. So vesicle thickness and bone volume density was significantly higher in the AS treated group. Right? In conclusion, our results show that improving the bone microenvironment with AIC pre-treatment delays or prevents myeloma cell growth. In other words, found out that before transplanting myeloma cells, we have given AIC to these animal groups. We found out that it significantly delays or prevents the myeloma happening. And so it's a significant study because myeloma, multiple myeloma, even if you do treat, relapse happens. And whenever relapse happens, it's harder to treat because it becomes drug resistant, right? So it comes back first and second time, usually third time and fourth time, patient dies. But it does come back, because it's hiding the bone matrix. And once you stop that toxic treatment, right, it comes out as resistant. But Dr. Yun suspects that AIC can drive all of them out. So there's no place that myeloma cells can hide. And that's why treating with AIC preventing myeloma from coming back. This is a significant study. Now, University of Arkansas itself, they have a huge clinic treating myeloma patients. They're starting to incorporate AIC in the patients as well in the hospital in the United States. Right? So, but for now, it's not FDA approved as a treatment. So we position it as an adjuvant. It significantly improves the quality of life of patients undergoing the current treatments, and then also it really improves the outcome. And another thing is that I guess the way that if the patients can't wait a month before jumping into conventional therapy, try this first. No toxic, right? Try this first. And then after the blood test and some other tests shows positive results, improvement is going the right direction. You do that until it goes away. Right? This is not I wouldn't say that this is cure all, right? But then you know why it's pretty good for so many indications, right? Because all our body cells are calcium signal. If we have a signaling issues, problem, calcification in your body, it's usually all over your body anyways. Right? This is the only one that can, I guess, in a way, remove that cellular calcification, restore calcium homeostasis. And just doing that alone gives your body better chance fighting the disease. It is your body fighting the disease. And we are removing all the obstacles. So I guess that's where we see all these big, broad spectrum of effectiveness efficacy of AIC. So, any questions?
Why we still need chemotherapy?
Well, the thing is that it's hard to convince patients to not take it.
Can still combine with chemo.
Yeah, I know, but I mean,
we told him that, you know what, why not try this? But then he was asking, and I think, well,
he's not quite sure again.
he's not quite sure because this is not FDA. His oncologist not talking about this and that. But you're talking about his life, death issue, right?
So they also
They're so scared.
Psychological treatment.
Yeah, that's right.
safety.
No, but you say that while you're taking the AIC, you were also advised how to take care of your
That's right.
So that's why your talk confirmed my belief that the most powerful feeling is nature.
Yes.
If you just make, we nowadays live with this equilibrium. We call it like if you're healthy, when you are healthy, you live in equilibrium. But whenever you have this equilibrium in your life, the disease comes. So by changing your, that I ask you, if you change your lifestyle after taking this, because that is part of it. When you change your lifestyle, all the toxic, not you.
Because of the stress,
Yes.
not enough sleep
Yeah.
over the life, and due to aging, our body seeks more diseases due to calcium signaling. The scientist, Dr. Paul Lee, I flew all the way to Jakarta to thank you to him. He was having a seminar in Jakarta. Over 800 people with Jay. So I flew there to say thank you to him for his discovery. He said he discovered it by accident. All these diseases start because of calcium signaling. Calcium ion left from the body due to stress, not enough sleep, and aging. And then diseases start.
Stress
I
people.
forgot to mention just now, this therapy has no side effect. You take it, and because it's calcium ions, it has no side effect. I have runny nose for 2 weeks because our body go back to normal condition and have loose stool. My shit is watery. And to me, I like it because it likes my body going back to like baby, So it brings back the body to normal. Like Jay said, even my teeth also become stronger. See? Because the calcium ions, as I download, it even absorb inside, and my teeth also become stronger.
It does so many goods at the same time. So you may be taking it for one thing, but it benefits so many.
We have the number of the patient killed by fear is
Number of
mostly
patients.
combined. So we combine treatment by
Testimony. You have so many, he has so many. Even in Malaysia, from my knowledge, 20 old patient, cancer patient.
There are many doctors around the world already using this. Many clinics around the world are using this.
Singapore, Indonesia, Malaysia, very big now.
North America, yeah, ever increasing number of doctors are using it. A lot of interview cancer clinics. Our biggest buyers are cancer clinics. They're buying hundreds of bottles a month, just to treat cancer patients. And then one of the famous doctor known in the United States called me and said, Jay, please, he actually uses also what's called IPT, insulin potentiation therapy, right? He's been using low dose chemo, right? But then he's been using estrogen now. That also goes into cancer, less toxicity, right? And he found it to be very effective. Because now because IPT, you actually get more of that into the cancer cell more, right? So he's using a lot of ASSG too. But for him, I guess it becomes more cost effective because he's using IPT. But IPT is also very risky too, running the risk of low sugar. So, but then the ones who know how to do it, they often use it. But just taking orally on empty stomach, it's still going and then destroy cancer. This is probably, I would say, most convenient, most safe cancer treatment out there.
Yeah.
But you can just take it at home. It's mixed with water and drink it 3 times a day, right? And no need to go to clinics. But then, of course, we want them to be, checked by.
I give you one more example. Lately, one of my friends told me that his prostate is about 3 to 4 cm. And the PSA reading 12. He was playing golf with me. I said, Steven, what happened? Then he told me all the story. I said, tonight you came to my house. As a friend, I never tell him I used to be cancer patient. I said, you come to my house. He came with his wife. We talked for 2.5 hours. I told him everything about cancer, and I told him I'm a cancer patient, and I using this one. And I say he has no side effect. So I give him one sample, little bit for him to try on the spot. Okay, he said, Michael, you take, you don't die. I take, also I'm sure I won't die. I said no side effect. It's very difficult to make people believe. So he took it, and then he was empty stomach. Before dinner, he came to my house, so we talked for a while, evening. So we go for dinner. And during the dinner, he rushed to the toilet. I said, what happened? I don't know. I think already used to because for him the effect is so immediate because this thing half an hour absorbed into the stomach because it's in ion form. That's why it's unstable. The moment this scientist can make this calcium into calcium ion, it's unstable. The moment you consume, you get absorbed in half an hour. He went to the toilet. I said that's very good sign because to me it took me almost 2 weeks before I start have loose stool. He is immediate, and then he's so happy. First 3 days he took all go to toilet. He took only once a day. 1 month later, his PSA reading is 3.97. I can show you his photo. And 1 month later, is less than 2.35. Back to normal. Sure. I said, why don't you go and see doctor now, take a biopsy, whether your prostate is already what stage cancer. He said, Michael, what for I take? Because if I take already it's cancerous, and any biopsy is also quite dangerous. If I take already it's cancer, what can the doctor go do? Chemo again? I just take this and I continue. If my PSA reading go down to normal, I'm happy. That I can bring him here next time. Actually, it's my friend. He likes to play golf. Okay. And this is true, no?
Yeah, but for you, you only take. I'm not familiar with your trade name yet. Maharajan is an AIC, is it?
Yeah.
Maharajan is also AIC, but this one disguised as a glucose.
Glucose, yes. So
this is the
what
killer.
is the trade name of the name of the product?
This one AIC
Just
SG.
this code.
Anti-orbital ionic calcium. SG to J is a start glucose. To me, it's a secret glucose. Secret, going like a secret.
For you, you only took the
Both.
Is it
Both.
Both now.
Both.
So do you have the keto diet?
No, I normal diet. I eat everything. Yesterday I have lunch.
Because this one is based on the glucose uptake.
It's better.
I cut down sugar. I don't take sugar. Actually, in my house, I never allow Coca-Cola. I never allow soft drink. I never allow sugar in the house.
Take fruit.
I take fruits.
Not much.
Chosen fruits. That's not so sweet.
Low sugar.
I cut down mango.
Okay.
Mango is a bit too sweet. Huh? Papaya very good. Papaya got two types. One is a bit sweeter. One is less sweet. Choose the less sweet.
But do you still take a single carbohydrate?
Yes. Like rice, 2 spoonful, and I prefer mihun. You know mihun? Rice noodle because they are processed, so the glycemic index is lower. If I take rice, 2 or 3 teaspoonfuls. If I take noodles, I can still take more than half bowl because the lower like Kway-teow, Pad Thai, they are lower glycemic index than rice. So it's okay.
So at the moment you took both of them for you?
During my therapy, I took both because my one was very severe.
But now you only.
If you don't have, you just take this one. And it also bring you good health. That's I can guarantee because I've gone through the process. So for cancer patient, it is better to take both, right? Jay, right? I take both.
ASSG can be more expensive. By the way, I get this question, why is it so expensive? There's no machine out there that can just turn on, put ingredients, and make this. It's still manually made by Dr. Pauly, right? This is so difficult to make. Once his lab
exploded and almost killed him. Just by putting a dial, there's many stations that he had made, right? And these machines has to be periodically changed to maintain quality control, right? Because you're operating the machines in extreme settings, and then the machine, the whole lab can explode, right? So it's made that way. It's manually made batch now, right? So that's why it's so expensive.
And the formulation now is in capsule, is it?
No,
Liquid.
Liquid.
because as I talked to the scientist, Dr. Paulie, I can understand it. Because calcium is stable, but calcium ion is unstable. It's very difficult to make calcium ion, the secret formula, to make it stable and put it in the water for people to consume. It's very difficult. The technology is fantastic. He's a chemist. He knows how to make this stable enough to put in the liquid for us to consume.
You mean when you break the ampoule, that's one time consumption?
No.
It's in a bottle that you, and a spoon, just put 5 ml into, you could put about 350 to 500 ml of water, and then to drink it on empty stomach.
That's like this.
Give it for 30 minutes.
This is 5 ml. You pour 2.5 or 5 ml up to you, depending on the therapy. You taking it for herb or anything. Then you mix with 350 ml of water, right? For me, I taking both. I drink 500 ml of water. Half an hour to 1 hour,
Once a day?
I take only once a day. Now I'm doing maintenance. Maintenance, you take only this spoon.
That also once a day?
Yeah, once
Yeah, for maintenance. And it's quite cheap. But if you take this one for cancer, this is more expensive.
How much for this water?
How much for this water? Later on, you will find out the price for not the Lambu. Because if she is the healer for Thailand, I go through her. What's the selling price? Is very much depend on
See,
her.
I'm not an oncologist. I know that now people who want to have a better chance to survive
Yes.
cancer, they go for targeted therapy. Is this part of the targeted therapy? No.
No,
Different.
nature. It's just calcium ion. The uniqueness of this is it disguised as a glucose. And cancer food is glucose. Cancer food eat it.
Yeah. So in the United States, this type of therapy is still not accepted as a protocol for treating cancer.
It is not. It's not FDA approved as a
That's
therapy.
a supplement.
Only a
To
supplement.
get the FDA approval in US, which I have tried, it costs 60 million US. Million. And it's a big boy game. Wait till we find the money, then you do the trial. We will want to do the trial in Thailand, and I think maybe we will proceed in Indonesia, and we will join with Indonesia to do the trial for cancer treatment. But this thing will take a couple of years. But now they are doing the trial in Korea, right, for the bone density. It's very good result.
So the NIC, the Maharajamir, is already accepted by the FDA, US.
For supplement.
It's a supplement.
Not medication.
Cannot, very difficult. Very difficult. Yeah. It costs, it will cost about 60 million USD. If I got 60 million, I don't want to work away. Or 10 million USD.
But it's just this ionic calcium delivery system. Our body has plenty of ionic calcium. Every cell has ionic calcium. We're not putting a foreign material into the
Or
body.
classified as supplementary product.
Yeah.
And how much for the marketing one bottle?
Later on, you have to ask for the loan.
I just want to have an idea how expensive they are.
Okay. Manager.
Yeah.
You introduce me.
Marajan, that's a small bottle, but
Yeah,
then
250, right?
yeah, but then the larger bottle is in the US sells for $475 per bottle.
So that's
$1,005
why
US and
what is
250.
the of the water?
250 about.
250.
It gives about 50 doses.
Also in solution. Management.
Yeah. 120.
Both of them.
Honestly speaking, for my maintenance, I only pay 3.5. I try to save money. Jay will recommend 5 and
You need water.
because he's the manufacturer.
Does it need to be dry water?
look,
Just water.
just room temperature water. This one don't need to put in the fridge. Just outside in the dark area. Don't put under sunlight. Don't take a photo. You can take a photo. You can put under sunlight.
So is this only the only size of product?
No, that's a smaller size. Actually, the bigger size is more cost effective. Bigger size is more.
$10. But I prefer smaller size because it's more fresh.